I am Paul Williams, the Vice President of Solutions for Koniag Government Services, and with me today is David Kalishman. He's our Program Manager for our CDAO program. Brian Smitches, who is the Solutions Architect for AWS, and he supports Koniag Government Services through our great partner program. And then Zach Curtis, he is our subject matter expert on implementing AI technologies internal to Koniag Government Services. David's going to give us a short presentation on what we've learned while standing up AI Centers of Excellence, followed by a panel discussion. We want this to be an interactive session, so if you have questions, please post them to the chat. We'll get to them at the end or during the panel discussion. That being said, one thing for housekeeping, if you're not presenting, if you wouldn't mind, please turn off your camera and make sure that your mic is muted so the presentation goes well. All right, take it away, David.
Thank you so much, Paul. Hello, everyone. David Kalishman, and I am the Program Manager for our Chief Data and AI Office work at the Department of Defense. And I'm excited to talk to you today about AI Centers of Excellence. But before we do that, I actually wanted to talk about some of the main challenges that we see occurring really across the federal government that are leading to the impetus to stand up AI Centers of Excellence. Right there at the top, legacy infrastructure. It's no secret that the federal government has older data systems, disconnected data, and with data really being the lifeblood of AI, that leads to significant challenges. AI analysis and selection. I think right now, not only our federal agencies, but everyone in general is overwhelmed with the amount of AI out there and the amount of potential solutions. How does an agency and organization actually select one that's going to be most beneficial? What's the process for analyzing the cost and benefit? Bias and misinformation. Can we trust the AI? We've all seen it out there. Are these AI systems trustworthy? Can we trust the outputs that they're going to give us? And that's been a challenge for agencies to overcome. Governance and compliance. So with all this new AI and the data sharing going on, agencies are really behind the gun to stand up compliance and regulations to make sure that they're managing risk and security appropriately. And they're very much in their infancy stages. And then last but not least, AI adoption. So AI is very much a technology product, but it's going to be used and leveraged by humans. And we're going to need to help agencies train staff, hire the staff to build the models. And there's a huge human element that's going to be needed to be addressed for agencies in order to implement AI. So all of these challenges have really led to the idea of an AI Center of Excellence, where an organization or agency essentially establishes a centralized hub to help drive and overcome these challenges that we just discussed. And an AI Center of Excellence is exactly that. It's going to be that center within an agency that's going to drive the organization forward most effectively to achieve their AI goals, and more importantly, achieve their mission and vision while leveraging AI as the tool. So in today's quick presentation, we're going to run through the four main pillars that really make up this AI Center of Excellence and what that would look like to begin and stand up in an actual organization. So before we do that, again, why stand up the Center of Excellence? It's going to do two things right off the bat. By centralizing this AI work, you're going to be able to reach maturity, a much higher level of maturity. It's going to be the driver of AI in an organization. So it's going to enable an agency to really reach that true level of adoption and even transformation, where the AI becomes integral to all business functions, and it's really adopted by the organization. In a decentralized model where you have pockets of AI, you're going to have inconsistencies, and it's going to be very hard to have that full transformation or adoption reach the full level of the agency. And even on the speed wise, the Center of Excellence is going to enable to get to full maturity and AI adoption much faster than if it was in different pockets throughout the organization. So first up, the first pillar that we'll talk about is strategy and governance. So the Center of Excellence provides a great place to really drive the selection and adoption of AI. It's going to be able to create the strategy for the agency to drive forward and also ensure compliance. So on the right side, what you see there is the AI Center of Excellence is going to have that 30,000-foot view for the agency, understand all the requirements and mission objectives. What are the priorities? Where do we need AI most? And from that, identify the quality data and infrastructure within the agency, what algorithms and analytics, what actual AI tools are going to be best suited. And finally, compliance. How are they going to do this effectively and managing risk? And all of that, the Center of Excellence is going to be able to manage. So at the end output, you're going to see fast, accurate, compliant, and responsible AI outputs. And a great example of this is the Chief Data and AI Office just released their data analytics and AI adoption strategy. So a great place for you to actually go and see one of these kind of strategy and governance documents that's out there currently. Why centralized infrastructure? So why does the management of the infrastructure, what kind of benefits can you see for an agency in the centralization of infrastructure? And there's several. There's hosting shared services. So for example, Amazon Web Services has Sage Matter. There's managing access and permission. So who can use the AI, who has access to what data, and private networking. And Amazon offers that private networking services. There's the ability to catalog services, infrastructure, templates, and data products, all in a centralized place where people can come and access those AI tools and capabilities. And last but not least, the consolidation of billing and cost visibility. With AI changing and growing and becoming such an important factor for agencies, the managing of the costs and the return on investment is going to be hugely critical for leadership as AI becomes a bigger and bigger budget item. So centralizing that infrastructure is going to be, the management of that infrastructure is going to be very important to agencies. Third, the human capital part. I mentioned earlier how even though AI is very much a technology, the human side is important, if not even more important, in making sure that the AI is successfully implemented in an agency. And this goes across the entire employee lifecycle. First, in the recruiting part, agencies are struggling to hire really AI developers. How do we compete with the Silicon Valleys and hire developers? So there's going to have to be targeted hiring. Some examples of things we've seen in the market include DHS doing a push or a tech push. They've hired 50 AI folks. DoD has actually looked to hire outside of normal compensation bands. On the training side, there's been partnerships with MIT and Harvard to bring in AI 101 training and really bring the general education of the entire department in AI. And then even empowering. So once you have folks starting to use and leverage AI, can you create career pathways? The White House has just started a tech and career pathway for AI individuals to help keep AI folks in the government. And can we create experimentation and self-service? Can we start implementing low code and no code for people to start playing and using AI for their own solutions? So really the human capital from across the entire employee life cycle, you're going to receive massive benefits from implementing a center of excellence. And then last but not least, on the operations and performance, the AI Center of Excellence is going to enable you to evaluate the success of AI throughout your agency. And that's really done across three swim lanes of performance. Can you track how well your AI is working? You know, is it the accuracy of it? Are you improving it? The impact from it. What kind of AI returns are you getting? Are you receiving the ROI you expected? Are you, removing duplicative processes? Are you helping with employee productivity? Are you able to evaluate the impact that you're receiving from implementing AI? And then there's the optimization. AI technology is going to keep changing. It's not going to stay where it is now, and we're going to have continued growth, probably at a continued accelerated rate. And the optimization metrics are going to enable you to track your ability to keep up with that. Are you getting more folks to adopt it? Are you getting the appropriate feedback loops to improve your AI? So the Center of Excellence is going to enable you to see from a 30,000-foot view that success of the organization, the AI that's helping it. So that was really a quick 101 on an AI Center of Excellence. I'll finish by saying we do see AI Center of Excellences across the organizations already. We know the Chief Data and AI Office at DoD, the State Department has an AI Office Center of Excellence, and DHS recently just hired their first Chief Data and AI Officer early or late last year. So we already starting to see these AI Centers of Excellences pop up, and really look forward to discussing more about them in our panel discussion.
Thank you, David. That was a great presentation. I just want to set a couple of expectations. We've got a few questions that we're going to ask the panel up front, but I'd really like for the audience, there's a lot of you in attendance right now, post your questions. Let's talk about it and dig a little bit deeper. Okay, my first question is for Zach. Zach, there's a lot of talk about generative AI, but there are a lot of different approaches to implementing AI, and generative is just one of them. So it seems like everything else has kind of disappeared. Is there a place for the other AI technologies like machine learning now that generative AI has become so popular?
Yeah, that's a good question. It does seem like other techniques of AI have sort of fallen by the wayside, but that's actually not true. There's just the hype is more focused on generative AI because it's more accessible and a lot easier to implement. So machine learning is still very much a major piece of the AI from a data science perspective. It probably will not likely go away anytime soon because it's much more focused on specific tasks, and they really differ in their approach. So Gen AI is particularly large language models have a really broad breadth of knowledge, and they can do a lot of amazing things, but trying to hone in on a specific task and achieve a desired outcome with a high degree of accuracy can be really challenging with generative AI. So traditional machine learning techniques and the way their neural nets work for a specific task is still critical, and I don't foresee that going away anytime soon.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and actually, I do want to jump in and just talk about on AI.gov, there are examples of Gen AI already being implemented. You have automated drafting for contracts being used at DHS. There's fraud detection occurring at the Department of State using Gen AI. So AI.gov is a great resource to just even look to see where Gen AI is being used currently to get your feet wet.
All right. Hey, David, you talked about a document during your presentation. Courtney posted in the chat. Can you repeat the name of that document again?
Sure. It's the DoD Analytics, AI, and Adoption Strategy. Comes out of the Chief Data and AI Office for the DoD.
All right. And just to let everybody know, this is being recorded, so you can go back and see that again, or just reach directly out to David. All the contact information for the people on the panel are here so that you can contact them afterwards. Okay, the next question, this one's for Brian. Brian, what are some of the lowest barrier to entry technologies or approaches for agencies to get started with AI?
Yeah, so it's important to note that the technologies always follow the use cases. So really, you have to start with that use case and then relentlessly prioritize how you're going to tackle that use case and bring the generative AI capabilities to your agency. So some obvious use cases and patterns might include an assistant that can help you ask questions about internal policies or HR questions. And so in these use cases where you're making an assistant, that's tangibly different than trying to say, oh, I need to create a custom model that is going to make it so that I can create a generative AI ecosystem for my data scientists to go and develop further. So on the assistant use case, we're trying to bring generative AI capabilities as a service. We have some offerings from Amazon for non-consequential use cases. You can use this. Amazon Q is our generative AI assistant that helps with business use cases. So ask questions against documents or knowledge bases that have custom data to your agency. You can also use it, Amazon Q, for developers. So this is where you're trying to have your increased efficiency for your application developers to write their code or to plan their testing for their code. So it's across the spectrum, but I would just say focus on the use case of what use case you're trying to tackle, what is the acceptance criteria, and then from there, obviously focus on the more non-consequential use cases, since generative AI is earlier in its maturity compared to other offerings.
All right, thanks for that overview. Q is definitely a very neat technology. You can get a lot of gains really quick with a very small implementation. So we're really excited about that.
It definitely speeds things up as a developer quite a bit. It understands this, exactly what you're trying to do, and it kind of just spits out a chunk of code, and it's like, hey, that's exactly what I was going for. So I was about to type all that, and it just did it for me.
Yeah, so more tangibly, Amazon Q a lot of times is more of a chatbot type of an interface. So that's one common use case for the Amazon Q offering.
Yep. Yeah. We're excited to see it evolve. All right. This next question is going to be for David. David, one of the concerns that I hear about centers of excellence a lot is that they slow things down. And some of that's intentional. Some of it's, a side effect, a negative side effect. Sometimes it can be a positive, right? So my question to you is, how do you create this without stifling innovation and growth? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I could see how an AI center of excellence is not going to be another budgetary red tape. And the truth is, no, this cannot be a traditional red tape agency. And really what you're asking is actually much more of a culture question. The way an AI center of excellence is going to be most successful is to create a culture of experimentation and agile methodologies. You're going to stand up this organization to be much flatter and much more culturally adept to promoting AI and the creation of AI. So something as simple as even using objectives and key results as a management framework, something that comes out of Silicon Valley and the management of AI, to be much more agile, is going to help create the AI Center of Excellence as a culture for promotion and be much more of an enabler than an inhibitor within the organization.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely the approach we want to take with implementing these types of things, right? And internally, we had to go through our own governance cycle on implementing AI, and started off with secure sandboxes and isolating things, but more than anything, empowering developers to build those solutions for the customers.
Yep.
Giving them career pathways to grow.
Yeah. Okay, Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that one of the biggest functions of the Center of Excellence that you can adopt to make sure that it does not stifle that innovation is just being inclusive, right? So having voices of the users, the people who are on the program teams or the mission teams, to be able to have sponsorship inside of what the Center of Excellence is doing, or even participate, right? You could have cross-disciplinary teams where they're helping shape the vision and the execution, where it is actually looking at working backwards from the use case itself, because they are the users who are helping shape what you're creating in the center of excellence, if it's more mechanisms that you're creating, and then that fosters an innovative culture as well.
I
Great
agree, and
point.
I think of it like a manufacturing company might focus on their products and their customers and how their customers use their products. That's how I think about the center of excellence, saying, okay, we want to identify these goals that we want to accomplish, and what can we do to make sure that we're doing that the right way, but also, you know, empowering those people to accomplish those goals.
Great points. So we've gotten a lot of questions from the audience. So we're going to start with Kim Hamoka asked the question, do you foresee generative AI as a major focus going forward? And I'm going to throw my initial answer out, and I say yes. But the reason I say that is because of the amount of productivity that you can get it from it. And as it matures and the more use cases that you can use it for, the wider adoption, the better we'll be able to apply it for our customers' problem sets. But anyone want to add anything from the panel?
Yeah, I would say, like, just taking that a step further, after kind of living in this AI world for a while, I realized that we're really witnessing a transformation on the lines of the dot-com boom and the transition to the internet, right? And so we're very much in the middle of that right now. And I believe that it's not just going to shape our, you know, the particulars of the tools that we have as a culture and humanity, really. It's going to shift the way we interact with technology. It's going to pretty much infiltrate every part of our digital lives, I would say, and it's going to become a critical. It'll become critical in all business applications, and it's already there in many cases, and it will continue to be so.
I've got one quick thing to add as well, Paul. So AWS, Amazon Web Services, as a cloud services provider, our goal is to create managed services that reduce undifferentiated heavy lifting for systems and technology, right? But I see a similar parallel with generative AI going forward, is that we're going to reduce undifferentiated heavy lifting that people and processes are doing more manually in nature. So that allure of automation and reducing the lift on people to get tasks done is really going to make things more efficient going forward, and a big focus of generative AI.
And there
Agreed.
are low-hanging fruit that could be used kind of right off the bat. One of my favorite ones right now is just synthetic data generation. If you're trying to do some kind of test or test data for a dashboard, Gen AI is a perfect low-hanging fruit. It just creates some synthetic data. So there's different levels to the Gen AI, and there's definitely some very low barrier to entry solutions out there.
Yeah, I think everyone I know out there is using Gen AI in some aspect at this point. It'd be hard to find someone that's not using it in their daily lives.
David just took me back to all the many hours of my career I've spent generating scripts that will generate test data, and then, oh, well, you need it different in this situation, so you got to tweak it, and now, you know, it's a 5-minute thing tops.
All right, let's move on to the next question. Sheila asks, how are we teaming with higher education for future recruits? So I'll take a stab at that. Anyone can answer afterwards, but I think honestly, I think the higher education is slowly getting behind this, right? So there's not the AI degrees are coming online. Right now, the big focus is on data science. Data science subject matter experts are the ones that end up being the ones that get adopted as AI experts. I think that'll evolve over time, but we do have some close relationships with universities throughout the country. We probably need to improve that as well. So,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I think what you're going to see too is an entire new career field where you'll have, you know, some kind of certificate or possibly even degree programs from universities that are focused on prompt engineering, because that's not data science and that's not development. That's the ability to manipulate the behavior and increase results from generative AI. And so that alone, I foresee in the not too far future where we'll have entire, contracts where we're hiring prompt engineers, and that's going to be something that we're, going to be looking for is, something that is offered is through the education system.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's a huge issue right now in the White House. They have an entire task force dedicated to defining work role codes for what it means to be AI, right? Even the old data scientist, that's not really AI anymore. So they're actually right now defining that throughout the federal government, what it means to be an AI developer, prompt engineer. So something that's in a high focus right now.
It's definitely still on the leading edge, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Landon asks, there's a lot of worry about AI replacing developers and honestly other roles as well. What is everyone's thoughts on how AI is going to affect professional roles in the IT industry?
So just what I mentioned before about reducing undifferentiated heavy lifting, there's still critical job functions that the person is responsible for. So I think also to Zach's point about there being potentially functional job roles that are going to expand, I think maybe there will be some shift away from tasks that we're doing things that could be more automated, but the opportunity is much greater than the cost of or the risk of what jobs might be transformed into having new functions.
Yeah, I always like to look at it as people will be able to focus on more important tasks.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it.
I was just gonna say I get asked that a lot, and often when we're dealing with trying to achieve something with our AI platform, but we almost kind of chuckle at the idea of it replacing someone's actual job, right? Because we're not there yet, and who knows what's going to happen in the long term. But I saw a quote on Twitter the other day that I love. It said, AI will not likely replace your job, but somebody who knows how to use AI probably will. And I think that is a really accurate statement, that's kind of the direction we're headed in. The goal isn't to eliminate people, and you're not gonna replace the subject matter and the experience and all those things that we need to perform our jobs. You're just gonna assist us in the ability to do that.
Right. Yep. That's a good way of putting it.
Absolutely. And as I've mentioned before, as much as AI is a technology, it's much more a human tool, right? So the human capital side of this for enabling folks to be able to use it in their everyday to day through training and education is going to be the much bigger focus. So again, as folks learn to remove some of the admin and repetitive tasks using AI, it's going to allow them to focus on higher level training and, to your point, Paul, do higher level tasks, which will be great for their careers.
Yep. Okay, next question. How can or should we be using Koniag AI capabilities in support of our customers? Will we have accredited capabilities at different impact levels? And I just want to say there's not one single solution for everything, right? So the best way to use these capabilities is to engage us, like reach out to us on this slide. We can come in and help you solution for your customer, make sure it's the right approach and the right technologies. To your question about will we have accredited capabilities at impact levels? Yes, there are varying levels of impact level accreditation across the technologies. And like I said, there's many technologies and they each have their own different accreditation levels. I will point out that technologies like Bedrock that rides on AWS, that is maturing its way through the impact levels. But when you're looking at like machine learning technologies such as SageMaker, it's been around a lot longer, so it's made its way into the higher ILs. Brian, you want to add something?
Just really quick, when you're looking at authorization, you have to look at, there's going to be your services that are giving you the capacity and the offerings kind of from generally a cloud services provider, right? So those have to be accredited for authorization. And then you might actually have more restrictions or contingencies for which model, generative AI model you're using. There's not one generative AI model, there's a lot of them. So certain ones may be approved for use depending on your use case. And then of course, there will always be the workload authorization, which is where you get your ATO for using these services that are already ready to be used in these impact levels and authorization tiers. Then you get the model, and then you also have to finally get the workload. So just depending on which layer you're at that impacts which flow you go down. And so AWS is on the services side. We're trying to like Paul said, get Bedrock up to where SageMaker is.
Yep. Thanks. Thanks for adding that in, Brian. The next question is from Henry. I work with Appian on KGS DoD contract. Appian provides a gateway to leverage Azure Copilot. Does KGS have its own Copilot subscription? Henry, I'll tell you, just reach out to us and we'll get you connected up with that team if you would like to talk about it more. Brian, did you have something to add there? Or are you just lowering your hand?
Sorry, it was raised from before.
No problem. Okay, Adam, is KGS presented itself as an organization that can help federal agencies set up their AI centers of excellence? The answer to that is yes. We do have our approach. You know, this meeting, part of what David is presenting is what did we learn in helping our customers with this problem before. So we're hoping to replicate that with other customers to be straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of it is, again, it's so much on the technology side, but when doing AI in these agencies, we've learned, again, it's a huge, there's a huge human capital side to it. There's the strategy and policy side to it. And we really cover that full gambit from the very beginning of analyzing to all the way to that full maturity. So that maturity model you saw earlier is something that we go from step 1 all the way out to step 5.
Yeah. Next question is from Rebecca Young. What will the training opportunities be with AI? And I'm going to shorten this just a little bit, but we have a lot of free training for our employees through our partnerships. So reach out to me or reach out to Ton Timmons, and you can get your staff trained on AI, either yourself or your team. Some of it is self-paced, some of it is instructor-led. There will be a Gen AI instructor-led training coming out very soon. So watch your inbox for a survey as to whether you want to be involved in that or not. Something agencies are asking for. Yes, I mean, obviously, David is working on the CDAO program implementing. And now, as he mentioned before, I think other government agencies are starting to stand up these AI centers of excellence. So yes, we think it'll be very much in demand across the DoD. Everyone is trying to get a grasp of how to tackle AI within their organizations. Skylar, how are we focusing ethics and equity and AI in all spaces internally and for their clients and their constituencies? David?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, there's a whole effort on responsible AI. You can look it up on DoD, the Responsible AI Toolkit. So there's a whole practice, and we have experts dedicated to standing up responsible AI. So again, going back to those outputs that we see, I talk about outputs being accurate, trustworthy, and ethical, right? So all the solutions we provide always follow those principles of responsible and AI ethics. So something we absolutely take as a key core, really a core value in any solution or AI we help deliver.
I foresee that also becoming another career path, just like we have cybersecurity experts that are doing all the security provisions and testing and all those sorts of things. I see ethical AI as kind of that advisor that will be around, you know, can we produce outputs that are misleading, that are that potentially cause human harm or something like that, and just testing those systems and making sure that the safeguards are in place to ensure the information is accurate, ethical, safe, everything like that.
Absolutely. And even for the agency itself, the Center of Excellence is going to have that 30,000-foot view to see across the organization and see any areas of risk where in a decentralized model with pockets of AI, it's going to be much harder to manage and prevent any AI responsible ethical concerns.
All right, great answers. All right, so the next question is very long, but let me see if I can boil it down a little bit. So how can the AI Center of Excellence navigate the burgeoning landscape of Gen AI applications while ensuring strategic prioritization? And I think you covered that in your presentation, David.
Yep. And again, on just to the Gen AI, again, there's low-hanging fruit that can be started, but then as you continue to go up the maturity of Gen AI, again, you're going to put in those guardrails really around Gen AI through strategy and governance. You can even create sandboxes, totally walled off areas to test and test the Gen AI. So there's definitely ways to get in low-hanging fruit, and then also as you mature, safe ways to continue to leverage it moving forward.
And then you can use the standard process of evaluating these platforms, right? Once you get it into a safe space and have the right use cases to test it out. Can the COE identify organizational processes or business functions that have the biggest opportunity to leverage AI?
Yes,
I'll pass that back over to you, David.
Yeah, no, that I have a huge smile on my face because one of the biggest challenges we see when we first have supported an agency is the leadership wants to pull everything they've seen in the news, and there's all these AI solutions, ChatGPT, right? Everyone's in a very reactive mode, and one of the first things we always do is that current state assessment, where we assess what is the agency mission, vision, and requirements. What is the current state of the data and systems? And then we do a cost-benefit prioritization analysis to identify the AI solution that's going to provide the most benefit. So we do it in a very structured way to take out, we try to take out the emotions of, oh, we need ChatGPT or we're going to fall behind or whatever it is. We really try to tie all AI solutions to meeting the mission and vision of the agency itself. What's going to provide the highest ROI, what's going to help provide the highest value, and that's the AI we're going to go for first and recommend.
And then the COE needs the data to know what they're trying to build for. So in order to know the use cases, you obviously have to have that agency from the program teams inside the agency who have different missions, right, for the broader mission. So definitely having that sponsorship of people participating and helping shape what is the reusability layer, right? What do we all share that would benefit us from an organizational deployment of a shared service versus what is more nuanced to my use case? And that helps the COE identify what to prioritize.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think it really, to me, it always stems around the use case. Like that should always be the focal point of what is the impact if we solve this problem, kind of a thing. And what's amazing with Gen AI is that the more complicated the use case doesn't necessarily mean the more complicated the implementation that we've seen in traditional technology. And I always say you should imagine with AI that you have, or think about AI like you have 500 unpaid college educated interns, and you should trust it as such, right? So beyond the use case, then we can start to plug in other pieces of the model in terms of what are the impacts, what happens when it's wrong, like what is it going to take to remediate, what is the risk of that, does it violate ethics principles? I mean, there's a lot of pieces of that matrix that we can pull in to help identify, like, yep, this is kind of low-hanging fruit, like David was saying, and this is the type of thing we can tackle first.
Yep. The next question, well, there are actually a couple of questions about certifications. And one is about, is there going to be a AI Center of Excellence certification? And I think that'll probably end up being at the organizational level, right? So organizations like Koniag Government Services will probably achieve, well, let's give a real solid example. AWS is creating a competency in AI. So we're going through that process with AWS right now. So that'll be the type of certification that we talk about. And that'll involve the education of our people, as well as our past performance and subject matter expertise um, as it relates to our clients and employees. As far as certifications go, there are some certifications, but I would say that they're evolving still. So one of the ones that I know a lot of people have gotten is like the prompt engineering that Zach brought up. But there are some others on Udemy and other training sites like that you can get. If you're looking for some training, reach out to us. We'll help you find the right thing. What juncture mechanisms will a robust data governance framework be established? Good question.
Sorry, can you repeat it, Paul? You went through it pretty quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, could you repeat it?
Oh, I'm sorry. At what juncture and through what mechanisms will a robust data governance framework be established? And I'd almost say that is almost a separate concern. One of the things that you have to have in place for AI is data, for sure. And there are some well-established governance frameworks out there for managing data. Two of the ones that we see a lot currently are like the data mesh and data fabric patterns that you see implemented across the government right now. But many of you already know about data lakes and data warehouses. You have to have your data accessible for the AI to leverage it and push it out there. The governance framework is a whole nother topic in itself. Maybe that needs to be one of our future sessions. David's response about core values answered. Can you please share some of the risk and security concerns? Right out of the gate, one of the biggest concerns is your proprietary and sensitive information and making it back into large language models, or just published out on the internet for other people to be able to discover and find. As you can imagine, if we are putting our competitive information out there, then other people can access it. You have all the same security concerns with AI that you would with data governance. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, again, that's why the AI Center of Excellence is a great spot. It's going to have that capability to see across the org and identify those risk areas, and also make sure transparently that everyone's kind of using the same guides and risk preventative measurements to when leveraging AI, right? So again, the AI Center of Excellence is going to be a great mechanism to help prevent some of those security and risk concerns.
Yeah, just like you'd want to understand and improve what data is flowing from what systems within your organization currently, you'd want to understand that same thing along with the model, and as well as the training piece that Paul mentioned. Like, it's critical to understand the privacy policies of different models, because different current offerings have different policies for what they're going to do when you interface with that model. Some will keep it and some are completely private. And it's also great. There's tools like Amazon's Bedrock being able to keep that in a completely closed environment, so that you can really get a good handle on that data maybe isn't even going over the internet. And then we're using private models, so there's no way that could ever make it back into a trained model that could be used by other organizations or leaked out somewhere.
And
Yep.
one more thing to add, just really quick, is that a common pattern inside of generative AI is this notion of getting knowledge from the external world, right? So something the model wouldn't know. No, it's called retrieval augmented generation. And so this would potentially be a separate risk of data exposure, not even necessarily external to the agency, but across organizations within the agency. So you want to make sure that you also have the right authorization on any data retrieval setup, so that maybe this one mission system and the operators don't access data from another mission system.
Yeah, great point, Brian.
So I'm gonna stop us now because we're at time and we want to be accurate with our time on these things. Great questions from everyone, and thank you everyone on the panel for coming and presenting and answering everyone's questions. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. Our topic will come out shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.